New season.
Yep.
New cards. A new installment of
Season Pass Review. Peter and Bear.
Some nerds are going to be taking a look at all the new cards, locations, albums, variants, and then ultimately give each card a new letter grade. Let's jump in with the Season Pass card, Blink. Blink is a 5 energy 6 power card that reads, on reveal, swap the last card you played with the higher cost card from your deck. This card's hard to judge. I think you can only safely say a couple things about this card. One is it's probably a staple in like Electro Wave ramp decks. And two, it's probably a staple in Thanos decks going forward. I think a good comparison for this card is Pixie. I know they do totally separate things, but Pixie and this card I think are one of those things where it's like, sometimes it's absolute garbage and doesn't really do anything, and other times it seems like you can abuse it and it's very, very good. Now, obviously, you can make your deck in a specific way to like guarantee you always get something good with Blink. Like you just play a deck that sort of looks like Pixie decks now, where it's just a bunch of 1-drops, maybe 1 or 2 3-cost cards, Blink, and then like 3 or 4 6-cost cards. So it's really definitely going to push the deck building capabilities of you and everyone else who tries the card. But I think overall it's going to take probably like at least a week for players to really crack this card and figure out how best to use it. Next card is Namora. Namora is a 5 energy 5 power card that reads, on reveal, give +5 power to each of your cards alone at another location. So overall impressions of Namora, this feels like the weakest card this season. I mean, it really only works with like a specific handful of cards. Obviously, it only works with a specific handful of cards like Namora, Orca, Atuma, other cards like that, Ebony Maw even. And I think that's going to be the best power for this card is, well, this is my hope for the card, is that it's actually decent enough to make like a new archetype in the game. Now, I don't really think it's going to be decent enough to do it, but I would like to see decks that are just doing like Ebony Maw alone in one lane, Atuma alone in another lane, and then Orca in a third lane, and you're using Namora to buff stuff up. That seems pretty cool. But in reality, I don't see this being very good. Of course, people are going to try and meme and do stuff with Wong and Odin. I think actually playing Odin with this card is not bad. But overall, are you really putting out enough power, even with the +5, to win games? Probably not. Nocturn is next. Nocturn is a 3 energy 5 power card that reads, you can move this once. When this moves, replace its location with a random new one. So just to clarify real quick on this card, you can only move it once, but its second effect there, the Scarlet Witch effect, can be triggered multiple times. Don't see how that's really great unless you just are obsessed with changing locations, but if you Iron Fist this, go Spider Heimdall, it'll change the location when it moves the second, third, or fourth time. But anyways, overall impressions of this card, I think this is the embodiment of, alright, this is going to be great in those Kraven tempo decks. It's going to be great just with Angela itself, just because you can move it, gives you a little bit of utility. This probably is a new core card in like just straight up hardcore move decks, the ones with Heimdall and stuff. I don't see why you wouldn't play this, because those decks have no agency over locations whatsoever, so you might as well play a card that can move and change a location for you. Why not? It probably ends up replacing Spider-Man. Like if you gave me an option to play like Spider-Man or Nocturn, I would probably usually just play Nocturn every time, just because it seems better, seems more balanced. You don't have to worry about where your Spider-Man's gonna end up or your Nocturn's gonna end up. But yeah, in the long run, I think this card is fine and probably is just a slight upgrade to those small ball tempo scaling decks with Kraven and Angela, and is just a better 3-drop move card than Spider-Man is.
Meow.
Sage is next. Sage is a 3 energy 0 power card that reads, on reveal, +2 power for each different power among all other cards here. So when I first read this card, I thought it said different cost, and I was like, it's okay, but it's different power. This card is gonna be the next Werewolf by Night. Obviously, it's best in Surfer, Negative, in any deck that runs Odin or Wong. But imagine this thing in a bounce deck that's been basted, that you get to beast and do it again. What the hell? Yeah, I mean, at worst case scenario, what? This is like 6, 8 power. On the upside, you trigger it twice and it's like 20-something power. Or you just get one solid trigger and it's like 12, 14 power. This This card's good. All right, next up we got Sasquatch. That's a character in Marvel. Fucking Sasquatch. Sasquatch is a 6 energy, 10 power card that reads costs 1 less for each card you played last turn. Sasquatch. Yeah, so this card is probably the new Mockingbird. I'm not sure if this card or Sage is going to be better overall, but those two cards, this and Sage, are like the musket cards of the season. I'm pretty sure, but any deck that runs Mysterio or Beast or Falcon or Black Swan, just a zoo dump deck, Thanos, all those decks want Sasquatch. I can picture decks that run Sasquatch, Mockingbird, Mysterio, and then who the hell else cares what your other cards are? It's just good because you get basically 2 free giant cards with Sasquatch and Mockingbird. Yeah, super sick card. It's good. All right, moving on to the locations. We have Cancun, Panopticon, and Transia. Those are some names. So first up, Cancun. Power here doesn't count toward winning the game. What the fuck is this location? Okay, I guess there's some tricky things you can do with priority, but overall, what the hell is this? I ain't mad at it, but what the hell? Panopticon. Cards that didn't start in your deck get +2 power here. This is pretty cool. I mean, when this pops up as a featured location, the only thing you will see is Loki decks or Mockingbird style decks. Anyways, Transia, swap the position of each location. I assume that means when it pops up, okay, Quake on a location, whatever. All right, and these are the season pass variants. Obviously, there's a lot more variants being introduced this season, but these are the ones you're going to get on the collection track. No, the season pass track. Oh my god. Psylocke 1 is dope, Sabretooth's alright, Blink 1 is super dope. You can't be mad at this art at all. And then we have 3 new albums, and I'm gonna be honest, I might catch some flack for this, but I hate this fucking art. All of these. I get it, it's cute, whatever, but yeah, this one is pretty much just Rian Gonzalez ones. This one we have here is Dan Hip. Also, don't understand Dan Hip. Sorry, everyone who likes him. And then the last one is basically another Rian Gonzalez album. All right, on to the letter grades. I'm giving Blink a C+. No, B-. This card's going to be very good when she's good, useless some other times, and I really like what this forces players to think about when deck building. Namora gets a C-. I want this card to be good, and the sort of playstyle she encourages is cool. I just still don't think it's enough to make cards like Orca and Namor viable. Nocturn gets a B. I think this is a decent card that will probably find a forever home in Tempo Angela style decks. Sage gets an A. I think this is a staple in any deck that runs Beast, mainly bounce decks, and probably also in Surfer and negative decks. Either way, I think people are going to figure out how to break this card and give her absurd numbers every game. Sasquatch gets an A+. I think we learned our lesson with Mockingbird. Do not underestimate cards that can get their cost reduced by this much. All right, that's the overview of the season pass. I think the season is really interesting. Overall, I think the cards are intriguing, to use a word that makes me feel good. Yeah, Nocturne, Namora, Sage, and Blink all make you think about deck building and what you can do outside of just what everyone's kind of doing on the ladder right now, which is really cool. Anyways, leave a like and subscribe. If you don't, I'll find you and kick you in the head. Later, nerds.